All right, let me ask this question, right? Okay, let's say that they're properly cast as a mid-table team. And I don't know if I need to think this about United and therefore stress. Just accept this is who you are. But Brighton coming up and getting results, getting a result against Tottenham Hotspur, and Fulham pushing City all the way as well. Does it show that maybe finally the Premier League is living up to the billing, that idea that anyone can beat anyone, or at least the teams are closer? Does this result, along with the others that I listed, does it show that maybe at this point of the season there is a bit of parity between the teams?
I think there's some parity. I don't think it's complete parity. I don't think we're going to get a Leicester in our lifetime again. And that's what a perfect outlook of parity would be, right? That in any given season, not just in any given weekend, anyone can beat anyone, but in any given season, there's a group of like 10 of the 20 teams can win the Premier League. That's not the case. Not even the big six, or if you want to take Spurs out of that, the big five. Not even amongst them in any given season, all of them are in with a chance to win the league. There's usually 2 or 3 who genuinely have a chance to win the league. But beyond that, you do have that situation that on any given Saturday or Sunday or Friday or Monday, any of these teams can beat any of these teams. And what we saw as an example with Fulham against Manchester City, at some point in that match, late on, Fulham were dominating the ball. Manchester City was sitting back in that low block, and I had a little chuckle to myself, like, okay.
Oh God.
So when you are being attacked, the logic is to sit back and to try contain and not concede. I wonder where that tactic came from. Maybe it's just football, maybe it's like the smart thing to do. And Fulham could have won that game, but Adama Traore is Adama Traore. Yes. Will always be Adama Traore.
Who was linked to Spurs, I might add.
Who was linked to Spurs. Everything you need to know about that.
Yeah.
But yes, Chuck, you even when you look at the Aston Villa and Manchester United game, as things stand, I think a lot of people expected Aston Villa to win that game. But of course, they were playing the Champions League, and Manchester United managed to get a point from that one. Southampton took the lead against an Arsenal, and then Arsenal did show their class. So you do have those upper echelon teams where I think this season it would be Arsenal, Manchester City, and Liverpool, and they're gonna lose at some point. Liverpool were beaten at home by Nottingham Forest. In a game that you don't expect them to lose, they will lose. And when you see the spattering of teams, like Fulham are a good team, Bournemouth have played some good ball. Nottingham Forest are hard to beat. Following up that win at Anfield, they went to Chelsea and managed to draw in that one. And Chelsea also were fortunate to win that one because Sanchez came away with 8 saves in that match, right? And you think of Chelsea, who have been putting some teams to the sword, but in other weeks they don't look quite as convincing, and that's because most of the teams are very close to one another. So I do think we have the closest thing in terms of the absolute biggest leagues in the world to parity in the Premier League, particularly this season.
I think maybe you want to throw the Bundesliga in the hat as well, but those are like wild results as well, because then you get Dortmund getting beaten, Bayern drawing over the weekend, and you're like, what's Haaland? Like that. Don't put your money on like Bundesliga teams. They are properly Jekyll and Hyde at this point in time. Maybe you will find some pattern and rhythm in terms of here who they are and here's what they're gonna do. But I wouldn't suggest that. But going back to the Premier League, I think for now that seems to be true, Che, because Liverpool are holding on against Palace as well. Eze, Mr. Sitter, if he scores, then they get a point from Liverpool. So at this point in time, man, because as you know with Chelsea, they were nowhere. I think they're fourth now. They're racking up the wins. I don't know for how long they'll stay there, but it seems like Maresca's cooking something and they might be contending or at least close enough to be there. Arsenal had a blip. City look like they are 5-2 a blip in most games that they play. They're not the dominant force that we all know them to be. And this is the narrative that we keep saying, that maybe this is the season because City look this way and that way and then they pull ahead. But so far, man, we're seeing Fulham step up, as you've said, because they've added Smith Rowe, or Raul Jimenez is scoring goals as well. Adama Traore is industrious as well. Semenyo is running a mark along with Tavernier and the likes at Bournemouth. So the teams are there and they're putting up a fight. I mean, Ipswich, wow, for 50 minutes, put up a fight, causing us to dream in terms of, hey, what's happening here, right?
Yeah. Leicester
City are there. And they're a presence in the league. You can't ignore Leicester City. Maybe Southampton aren't playing as well as the I don't know to expect too much from them because they just got promoted as well. But of the sides that are promoted, I think they're the ones that are performing most poorly. But they got a lead against Arsenal, and they were there to cause some noise, but they were swatted away eventually. So I think at the moment, and then you have as much as you say that Aston Villa played in the Champions League, United played a day later in the Europa League as well. So even then,
that's true.
Even
and away
then,
to Porto.
yeah, and both those teams looked uninspired. I don't know if that comes into our argument, because at their best, maybe there's a better assessment of what the teams look like, but they cancel each other out ultimately, and so there's more parity in that particular game. So I think, at this point in time, that is true, and the league table does tell you that, in terms of that there are lots of teams clustered in mid-table with close points, and yes, it's early in the season, you expect that mathematically, but I think for the next 2 or 3 game weeks we might see that, and then afterwards the games and the points will stretch out, and we'll get to see who are the clear contenders. And to be clear, you're saying it's not Spurs?